Good afternoon, I'm Jurnee Taylor, and thanks for joining us at the top of this hour. A lot to cover today, including a second in-custody death in Conway. Here's what else we're following this afternoon. Investigators in New Zealand are looking for answers after the country's first mass shooting in 4 years. What we know about the shocking tragedy at 12:07. Plus, a controversial child labor law takes effect in less than 2 weeks, and some aren't happy with the change. A closer look at why still ahead. And the Powerball fun is over. Someone has won the billion-dollar jackpot. More on the sad news for us a little later. And if you didn't win big on the lottery, we can at least say that we're lucky. A slight cool down is coming soon, right, meteorologist Nathan Scott?
Don't give it away, Jurnee.
I'm sorry.
You're taking my thunder. Hey, good afternoon to you. We've got some warm temperatures out there, mixture of sun and clouds across the region this afternoon. Temperatures, though, you know the drill. It's warming up. It's the low to mid 90s across the state already. 93 in Searcy, 88 in Clinton, 92 in Hot Springs, and 89 in Arkadelphia. There are more clouds off to the north, and there's even a few showers making their way right along the state line of Arkansas and Missouri. So if you're watching us in north central Arkansas, there could be certainly a spotty shower, maybe a rumble of thunder mixed in. Excessive heat warnings have been issued for a large part of Arkansas, all the magenta, everybody else pretty much under a heat advisory. But I think this is going to be the last day that we're going to see heat alerts for all of this real estate. Highs today, mid to upper 90s, but look what happens tomorrow. Temperatures only into the 70s for highs in North Arkansas. Even here in Central Arkansas, we will see cooler readings. Now, there's two reasons for that. We've got a front making its way in, and that front is producing more clouds and also the chance of showers and storms. I'll have more on the timing of that rain and let you know if it continues into the weekend coming up.
Well, this afternoon, we're working to learn more about another in-custody death in Conway. It happened Tuesday afternoon, less than 24 hours after the death of a suspect following an encounter with officers. Here's what we know right now. According to a Facebook post from Conway Police, officers were responding to a call of a man yelling in people's yards in the area of South, Center, and Hardy Street. That post says that they found a man identified as 44-year-old Ricky Freeberg unresponsive. They reportedly gave him Narcan and requested an ambulance. Officers say Freeberg regained consciousness and became, quote, combative. They then reportedly got him under control and handcuffed him. The post goes on to say that Freeberg was transported to the hospital where he died a little more than an hour after the initial call. Arkansas State Police are now investigating the incident. Now, we've spent the last 2 days reaching out to Conway and State Police for more information, as well as body and dash cam footage from both incidents. We have been told by both agencies to reach out to the other. THV 11 is following these stories closely, and today we're working to get a better idea of how State Police conducts investigations into deaths like these. And you can learn more about both Monday and Tuesday's arrests right now on THV11.com. New at noon, Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders has appointed a special justice to hear arguments in a case that's delaying the implementation of the LEARNS Act. Corey Cox will take the spot of Cody Highland, who recused himself last week when justices heard the appeal to a judge's decision to put the law on hold over the way legislators voted on it to take effect immediately. As of right now, the LEARNS Act will go into effect on August 1st. Today's update comes as Citizens for Arkansas Public Education and Students, or CAPES, continues to collect more signatures to stop the education reform plan. The group needs 55,000 people across the state to sign by the end of the month. If they do that, Arkansas Learns will be put to a vote in 2024. Volunteers were in Faulkner County Wednesday. They say even if they hit the requirement, they'll continue collecting signatures.
We want to do much more than that. We need people to come out because we want to be way over that minimum. Minimum isn't good enough for public schools in Arkansas.
And new this afternoon, the group is opening a drive-through location or multiple drive-through locations where people can sign. You can learn more about those on THV11.com. Another new law getting national attention this week, the Youth Hiring Act. It allows Arkansans under the age of 16 to get a job without needing an employment certificate. This afternoon, THV 11's Jalissa Garza shows us why one business isn't a fan of this new law.
Summer is a busy time for businesses in Central Arkansas. It's also the time where restaurants like Hill Station hire extra help. And sometimes that means teenagers.
Or they start coming around after spring break trying to line something up for the summer, which is great.
Owner Daniel Bryant says about 15 to 20% of his summer staff is teenagers, and there's a process before they get hired.
We would ask them to get the permit, and then which would require a parent's signature and then a description of the type of work they'd be doing, the type of hours they would be doing that during.
That process is going to change starting next month once the Youth Hiring Act goes into effect.
What the law does is just remove that permission slip from the government.
Teenagers younger than 16 will be able to work without that certificate, and State Senator Joshua Bryant says that's a good thing.
We need to reinstill a work ethic in our children, and removing those barriers and making it easier for employers to hire that child is why I supported the bill.
While Daniel Bryant supports teenagers getting their foot in the door and getting a job, he says he doesn't support this law.
What I don't understand is what was wrong with the old system. It would never cost us any employees or cost any of the young people their jobs. It was just a matter of getting the parents involved, and it also sort of held us accountable on the employer side.
Supporters of the bill say kids will still be protected under existing child labor laws.
If you have good actors and good employers that want to employ children under the over the age of 14, under the age of 16, then they can do that without the burden of a government permission slip.
But as a parent and business owner, Bryant feels this could take away some accountability.
And I do think that this removed a safeguard, and I don't, to be honest, I just don't understand why.
And although this law goes into effect soon, Bryant says it won't change his process when it comes to hiring teenagers.
But we're going to ask the same questions, and we're going to behave the same because the underlying rules and stipulations don't change.
In Little Rock, Jalissa Garza, THV 11 News.
Well, that law, along with several others, go into effect on August 1st. We've compiled a list of those on THV11.com. You can also text the word laws to 501-376-1111. We'll also send you a link straight to your phone. Well, thousands of Arkansans will soon have their student loans forgiven with the help of the Biden administration. Yesterday, the administration released state-by-state data on relief eligibility. In Arkansas, the debt eligible for discharge is $342 million, qualifying nearly 7,000 Arkansans. Now, keep in mind, this only applies to borrowers who have made longer-term payments for more than 2 decades. The discharging process starts in about 30 days, and borrowers will then receive an update from their loan providers when the process is done. A rare deadly shooting this morning in New Zealand as U.S. soccer players were preparing to compete in the Women's World Cup. This is the first mass shooting in the country since 2019 when a gunman killed 51 people at 2 mosques. Ian Lee has more on today's shocking tragedy.
Scenes of chaos struck New Zealand's largest city of Auckland after a gunman opened fire at a construction site.
A guy with a shotgun in his hand, and he was aiming for people.
Police quickly secured the area before engaging the 24-year-old suspect who was killed at the scene.
Tragically, police located 2 members of the public deceased on the lower levels of the building site.
The rampage took place just hours before the Women's World Cup kicked off in the city and about 3 miles from where the U.S. team is staying.
There was lives lost, and that is very real and very devastating. So we were just thankful that we were safe.
Several people were injured in the violence, including a police officer. Officials say there's no known connection to the tournament, but there were some anxious moments for American fans who arrived to support Team USA in their first game on Saturday.
This morning it was very scary to be around in this area, but having them now contained everything and kind of figured it out, I feel a lot more comfortable being here.
I feel pretty safe. I do think New Zealand's doing a good job with security.
Authorities say they've heightened security after the shooting and that the World Cup is going on as planned. Ian Lee, CBS News.
Well, police say the gunman had a history of domestic violence and had previously worked at that construction site. In other news, the clock is ticking for UPS and the International Brotherhood of Teamsters to avoid a possible strike. Contract negotiations between the two will resume next week, but thousands of Teamsters have been conducting practice picket lines to keep the pressure on the United Parcel Service. In a statement, UPS said it's prepared to increase pay and benefits while emphasizing the need to work quickly to finalize a fair deal. And temperatures across the country are soaring to record levels, and doctors are warning of the dangers of hot weather. If you're planning to spend any amount of time outdoors in this extreme heat, hydration needs to start before you leave the house. Be sure to look out for the earliest warning signs of dehydration, such as dizziness, lightheadedness, nausea, and headaches. And young children and the elderly are at the greatest risk for heat-related illnesses, according to the CDC. So they need to take extra care to stay hydrated and cool. Well, if you're like many Americans, the Powerball has been a big topic of discussion. So like many Americans, you're also probably accepting the defeat from last night's Powerball results. Well, the winning numbers were picked by a player in California, not Arkansas, people. The ticket was bought in a mini market in downtown Los Angeles. That lucky person will now have to decide whether they'll receive their billion-dollar winnings, or they can either get a time payout of $516 million or get paid over time. Well, we all know what you should be drinking on hot days like today, but what about what you should be putting in your bodies? A closer look at that in 2 minutes. Nathan?
We've got one more day of brutal heat to deal with here in Central Arkansas before we see some heat relief and also relief from the humidity. I'll have more on that forecast coming up.